I'm excited about having Jeff Erickson back with us for the first time ever. He is doing an outdoors Zoom call. This is phenomenal. Outside the Erickson house. Have you been doing all your hits like this or just ours? Because it looks great.
This is the first time I've ever done it outdoors because I was worried about the connection speed and all that, but it seems like the Wi-Fi is tracking pretty good. So got some work going on inside our house. Thought, yeah, let's try it outside. It's a nice day, really breezy. It's nice.
Tour, give a quick tour for our listeners at home that'll be watching this on the YouTube channel later when they see the trees behind you and some of the ambiance of what we're looking at here.
All right, so we got the trampoline right behind us. Behind that is an avocado tree.
Wow.
Awesome, very mature tree. We do nothing to maintain it, and yet it yields like 700, 800 avocados every cycle. It's about every other year, I think, we get those, and they're huge, awesome avocados too, which is great. So yes, it's a little bit of a humble brag here. Nice little backyard, California-sized backyard. So I'll take it.
So you inherited the avocado tree when you bought the house.
Mm-hmm.
That is like a bonus, isn't it? That's an added bonus for you.
Yeah, we just planted zucchini, bell peppers, some strawberries. So we'll see what that brings. Trying to become a little bit less of a brown thumb and more of a green thumb. So we'll see what happens there. But over here, let's see. We got some citrus trees over there.
Very nice.
It's not a bad little setup.
I like it. I mean, who needs to go to the supermarket when you can grow all your own fruits and vegetables? That's the way to do it.
Yeah, instead of a lemonade stand, we have an avocado stand.
I like that. Do you handle the gardening, or is that the wife?
We both do. And honestly, we pay someone to mow the lawn. I'm lazy, but so it goes.
I hear you. Hey, by the way, I got to ask you this question because before we brought you on, we were talking about youth sports. There was a little incident that happened yesterday during a 10U baseball game that I was a part of as a fan, and I shared the story on the radio station. Since your daughter plays competitive soccer, how have fans behaved over the years at the soccer matches when you've attended? Have the fans ever gone out of control as parents, or for the most part, does everybody behave themselves?
No, for the most part, they behave themselves. I mean, every once in a while, I've seen a fan get ejected from yelling too much. I've never seen an actual fight. I've been lucky on that. I've heard stories, but luckily, nothing too physical there. And just every once in a while, I've ref games too. I ref soccer as well as coach, and you got some people that take it a little too seriously, of course. But other than that, they behave pretty well.
And as the refs, you can kind of police that and make sure that the fans don't get too, and the parents don't get too out of control.
Yeah, well, you got to get help from the coaches. I mean, the parents always follow the coach's lead. If the coach is yelling at the refs, well, the parents are going to too. If the coach is like, hey, pipe down, I got this, they'll listen. Rarely, every once in a while, you get a problem parent, but for the most part, it's pretty good. This isn't training for the World Cup. If it were, it wouldn't you'd be at a higher level, you get personalized training and all that, but this is, recreational youth soccer. Competitive, but still recreational.
I hear you. I got you. All right. Good start to that segment. Now, let me ask you about what's going on fantasy-wise. We have COVID news all over the place. Mm-hmm. If you own any of the Padres, with the exception of Manny Machado right now, you're in trouble because it seems like all the big boppers are out on the COVID IL.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you see what happened with the Padres. They still won today somehow in the first inning of that doubleheader, grand slam by Caratini. But seeing Tatis and Will Myers go down like that was really rough. Seeing, the three other players with contact tracing, I'm amazed that they even played that game. To be honest with you, Steve, I didn't think that was, fair to the Padres. But here we are, and they were able to pull it off. Good on them. Good on Jay Stingler for being able to do so.
Yep, absolutely right. I agree with you there. And then when you're having not to deal with COVID like Zach Gallen, you're dealing now with a horrible injury to your elbow, and you find out that he's got a UCL injury. And yet, apparently it's not something, at least for the time being, that's going to lead to potential surgery.
For now. Mm-hmm. When they say quote unquote minor sprain of the UCL, I just think that begets future problems. And, the thing is, he had the hairline fracture in his forearm from batting earlier. And we're like, okay, that's just something that happens with batting. It maybe have been a weird deflection or something like that. It hurt when he threw his curveball back then. That should have been our telltale sign that he wasn't quite out of the woods. I know I was pretty gloom and doom when he went on the IL the first point, and pleasantly surprised when he came back quickly. Had some pretty good outings, but lately has been a little less solid. I'm really bummed out, to be honest. It stinks seeing young pitchers get hurt like this.
It does. And by the way, he's got some injured teammates right now. Christian
Mm-hmm.
Walker is going to be heading to the injured list. But I'll tell you what, Pavin Smith has done a nice job so far this season. I think that even though the power is not necessarily Christian Walker-esque, he's getting on base. He's hitting for average. He's starting to at least assert himself. And it might never be the kind of potential that everybody expected when he was drafted in the first round, but he could carve out a nice career for him with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I kind of like the on-base skills. That has been encouraging. So, yeah, give him some time to kind of adjust too, because with more reps, he might get even a little bit better. Thing I like about him is, he's got a good batting eye, and that's something that I kind of like seeing a little bit. Although it's starting to strike out a little bit more, but 7 walks, that's not too bad. They enough that he's knows the strike zone well enough that they've been comfortable having him bat leadoff every once in a while, and that's pretty nice to see from a young player like that.
No doubt. There was a very big injury scare to Chris Bryant earlier, and he ends up with a wrist contusion and is day-to-day versus going on the IL. Wrist injuries are scary, especially with a guy like this who has really resurrected his career this year and having a nice bounce-back season, hitting over 300 with 9 home runs for the Cubbies this year.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, that Bryant was also dealing with an illness. They're already kind of planning to pinch run for him, so it might not even be that bad. We'll see. But yeah, that he's off to a really nice start. The thing I like about Bryant this year is he's attacking fastballs better, and he doesn't let the cookie go by like he might have done in previous years. I think when they batted him leadoff in second, I think he got a mentality of being a little more passive, or maybe working the count a little bit more and would fall behind in counts. I think he's avoided that pretty successfully this year.
I agree with you. Brandon Belt started out very, very slow this year for the Giants, and it looked like everybody thought that last year was just an anomaly. And then he explodes last week, had a huge week, and he's already off to a good start this week.
Yeah, he is. And this is a continuation of 2020. I've always wondered what Belt's career would be if he weren't hurt and if he weren't playing in a very tough ballpark. Now, he got hurt yesterday. He left with the mild left side tightness. So let's watch that one, too, a little bit closely, because that's been the story of his career. It gets going. The next thing you know, he kind of runs into a problem, just various ailment. Now, I think the Giants are off today, a very rare Wednesday off day. So watch out to see what happens on Thursday with him.
It sounds like the Byron Buxton story, but the difference is Buxton's got a ridiculous skill set that when he does put it together, he's fantasy gold, but you never see him actually stay healthy.
Yeah, this is a tough one. He was off to such a great start. Now he's out multiple weeks with a hip strain, more than the minimum. They're calling it, a significant hip strain, and that's bothersome. You could just see it when he's going down the line at first base when he got hurt too. And man, just give us one full season of Buxton at the max of his capacities. That's all I want to see. Just one season.
How are injuries so far through the first 6 weeks of the season compared to normal? Are they up right now in baseball? Are they about the same? Have you had a chance to really kind of look at how this is going?
I haven't crunched the numbers. My perception is it's higher, especially among the hitters. I haven't seen it as much with the pitching. That I haven't seen too many. And we saw Dustin May, obviously. That was a big one. But, usually last year we had Noah Syndergaard, we had Chris Sale, we had Severino also. Yep. All 3 top 25 pitchers down in spring training and season-ending elbow injuries. We didn't really get that scale this year as far as the pitching side goes. On the other hand, we've seen a lot of big hitting injuries, and that was a little bit of a surprise. That been hit pretty hard by that this year. And Justin Verlander one start into the season too as well. So last year, which we haven't had that scale, at least among the elite starting pitching.
Good point. Jeff Erickson with us right now from Rotowire.com as we continue here on the show. Seattle's got a pair of rookies up right now in Jared Kelenic and Logan Gilbert. What should fantasy owners expect from the two of them as they make their debut this week?
Well, it's kind of interesting that, they actually acted pretty quickly once the minor league season started. They wanted to give them Gilbert basically one start and Kelenic 5 games. Yeah. And they committed to it there after all of our carping. I think Kelenic is kind of like 5th, 6th round potential already. I think he's going to hit the ground running. Maybe it'll be a little bit of a growing phase there, but Gilbert, on the other hand, I'm not as sure what he's going to be able to do right away. I'm excited he's going to get the call. I really am. I think that's going to be a great news that they're kind of building off of that. It's kind of I was a little surprised to see that. I'm going to see how that. But with Marco Gonzalez, Nick Margevicius, and LJ Newsome all on the IL, it makes sense. And Gilbert's a big time prospect. He's one of our top pitching prospects. James Anderson does our rankings. He's our number 43rd prospect overall. So this is a pretty big time prospect. Obviously, he hasn't done much at the higher levels. Did hit AA in 2019 though, so it's not entirely foreign. He's ready to go. I'm excited to see him.
I know that MLB teams love to manipulate the service time and get that extra year of club control. Now, normally when the season starts in late March or early April, by now you're 6 weeks into the AAA season. But this year it's 1 week. So I wonder how much is really due to that part of it versus, we'll just pull the trigger after a week. Sounds to me like the Mariners wanted to do this all along. They just wanted to get that extra year of service time.
At least with Kelnick, I think that's the case. I don't know if it was I think Gilbert's circumstances kind of pushed that a little bit, and maybe they just weren't as sure. But, he showed signs in spring training at the alternate training site last year. But I think often when I look at the call-ups, with pitching, you don't manipulate service time as much unless it's like a Strasburg level prospect. And even then, Strasburg got hurt. Pitchers get hurt. That's what they do. That seems like that all the time. So I think when your pitcher is ready, you just call them up. I think you do like the Padres do, the Marlins do. They're a little bit more aggressive with their promotions. And I think that's the proper way to go.
Jeff Erickson with us right now from Rotowire.com. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff_Erickson, and you can check out his work out at Rotowire. Hey, there are some great fantasy stories, and when you look at what Shohei Ohtani is able to do in this flexibility, his DH outfield, he pitches. I mean, when was the last time we saw somebody that could be dominant in so many different ways?
Babe Ruth? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to be in college. I'm sure you probably saw some players like this. I remember Darren Dreifert being a two-way player. He was a DH and a relief pitcher for Wichita State. I went to high school in Wichita, so I remember those days there. The only thing that I'd like to see better with Ohtani, and he did it last night at least, was he controlled the strike zone better, is the walks. He's walked 20 guys in 25 innings so far this year. But man, what a unicorn. How fun is this guy? I mean, this is so great for baseball to see someone that valuable like that. Already 10 homers now, 6 stolen bases. He's got 40 strikeouts in 25 innings. He went deep into the game yesterday, and then he played right field after, so they could get one more at bat from him. And check in your leagues. In some leagues, that's enough for him to qualify at outfield. Remember, he'd been UT only in a lot of places. So that's huge if you can get him be an outfielder, especially with all the outfielders going down with injury. Man, what a bonus.
So the key is just staying healthy more than anything else. Simple as that.
I mean, just stay healthy. And the Angels have taken the training wheels off. There's no more Ohtani rules. They're just letting him play. And kudos to Joe Madden for doing this here. It's kind of just released what is just a super exciting player. I'm not even an Angels fan, but he's appointment television. He is. With him and Trout together like that, especially.
Well, and considering that Pujols is now gone from the Angels, and did that move did that catch you by surprise at all, or not really?
Just the suddenness of it. I mean, frankly, it's overdue. Just the way it happened. He deserved his rocking chair tour. I get that, but he didn't want that. He was trying to demand to play every day. He forced this issue a little bit, and the Angels could have said, "Okay, we're going to call your bluff. We're just going to keep you on the team, and you can keep complaining." But in a way, this is what he wanted, and what he really wanted was to play every day. But let's frankly. I mean, you playing Jared Walsh out of position just to accommodate Pujols doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think they're better off their current construction. We saw Taylor Ward homer yesterday. He made a diving catch the day before that in right field. These are things that weren't going to happen if Pujols is playing first base.
Absolutely right. Hey, you got some great stories up on the website right now. Bernie Pleskoff talking about outfield trade targets. And David Peralta was the subject of this. He had some other names on this list as well. Hunter Dozier, Ian Happ, who's coming back from the DL. And then I mentioned, with Peralta and Laurie Garcia. And then Andrew Benintendi. That's an interesting story, isn't it, seeing what Benintendi's been doing?
Yeah, getting on base on a pretty regular streak lately. And good for him. I mean, I'm going to end up being wrong on that. I just kind of shied away from him this year. I didn't think much had changed, but he's on a nice little run right now. Got him on base 4 times yesterday. He's got a 346 OBP, and he's running too. That's, I mean, not necessarily successfully. He's been caught 4 times, but he's 5 of 9. But I like that he's taking the chances again. You could end up being maybe a 15-20 player, and I'll tell you, those are hard to find.
They are hard to find. Hey, by the way, how do you explain the continued success? And I wonder how long he can sustain this, but what Adolis Garcia is doing right now out in Texas.
I don't know. It's the latest Cuban to kind of be a late bloomer. And maybe that's one of the things we need to keep in mind when we see guys come over from a system we're not used to, especially if it's Cuba, that maybe it takes them a while to adjust to life in the States. I remember there was I think it might've been Puig or Moncada a little bit too, whereas getting used to the change in diet, having money for, money in your pocket, being able to afford whatever you want food wise and trying to eat the right thing. For one thing there. Adolis Garcia is going to strike out a lot too. That's one thing still I'm a little concerned about. But man, power speed combo is hard to find again. And the Rangers got him essentially for free. In fact, they designated him for assignment earlier, and then they were able to still keep him. Reminder of Nelson Cruz. Jamie Newberg had a great thing in The Athletic about that. Like the top 5 players that Texas designated and then brought back. And Marlon Byrd was on that list. Nelson Cruz was obviously the big one. And Garcia was one. Anybody could have had him.
Denilson Lamet pitched again, 2 innings, and then they're really monitoring his pitch counts. Do you think that the Padres will ever get to the point where he'll start throwing normal workloads, or do you think they're just going to keep an eye and keep him in little 2 and 3 inning bursts so most of the year?
I think they might build him up, but I think last time they maybe, if it was maybe too soon. The thing I a little get concerned about is he going to miss bats? And granted, his last start was in Coors Field yesterday, and before that, you're still working his way up. But it does give you hesitation for using him in your leagues, obviously, because as a starter, he's now an opener, and unfortunately, he's not going to get any good decisions that way, and he's not going to pile on the strikeouts.
Jeff, tell me about the website. What else you want to profile right now at Rotowire.com? We can do baseball. We can do all sports. What would you like to talk about?
Mostly baseball and, obviously football too. I'm doing a mock draft for our football magazine tomorrow. So we'll have some discussion about that and on the show as well. We're doing all sorts of audio too. Lots of podcasts, a lot of live streaming now of our podcast. We're using StreamYard for that. So you can go catch on the video side in case you don't get enough of my ugly mug, but you got that going there. But I'm even doing a golf podcast every week too. And it's a lot of fun to do that, trying to play a little bit more golf DFS as a result of that.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Great job on the outdoor background. It looks great. I think our fans will love it on social media when they watch it later on YouTube. That's going to be great, and I look forward to having you back next week and talk more fantasy with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
You got it. He's Jeff Erickson, folks, from Rotowire, as we continue here on Sports Talk.